Welcome to A Course in Miracles in Practice. Today we're exploring Lesson 332, and the title is Fear Binds the World, Forgiveness Sets It Free.
It's such a powerful line, and the lesson itself uses this incredible visual, this image of the mind in chains. Locked away, a prisoner in the dark.
It really does. It immediately sets up this core conflict we all face, doesn't it? It frames fear as the very mechanism of our own imprisonment.
Exactly. And forgiveness as the key, the only key, really, that can unlock the door.
So today we're going to explore that whole experience of being held captive by fear, and we'll focus on what I think is the trickiest part, the realization that we often choose to stay in that prison.
Right. Even when the door is wide open and freedom is right there.
We're going to break down how fear works, especially its connection to this deep belief in futility. And then we'll look at what happens when we choose forgiveness, how it shifts our entire perception.
It's a shift from seeing yourself as, a victim of your life, of your circumstances, to seeing yourself as the one who actually holds the key to the cell.
That's the mission for today. We're looking for the practical side of this. How do you recognize the chains in your daily life? And how do you use the key in that exact moment?
That's the practice.
Before we get started, just a quick reminder to check out our poll question on Spotify. It's related to today's lesson. And you can always find us on social media. Our handle is the World Harmony Project.
Or you can send us an email. The address is acim@theworldharmonyproject.org.
All right, let's start with the lesson itself. We'll read it through first. Fear binds the world. Forgiveness sets it free. The ego makes illusions. Truth undoes its evil dreams by shining them away. Truth never makes attack, it merely is. And by its presence is the mind recalled from fantasies, awakening to the real. Forgiveness bids this presence enter in and take its rightful place within the mind. Without forgiveness is the mind in chains, believing in its own futility. Yet with forgiveness does the light shine through the dream of darkness, offering it hope and giving it the means to realize the freedom that is its inheritance.
We would not bind the world again today. Fear holds it prisoner, and yet your love has given us the means to set it free. Father, we would release it now, for as we offer freedom, it is given us, and we would not remain as prisoners while you are holding freedom out to us.
That idea right at the start, the mind in chains, it's so arresting. It really forces you to look at the internal architecture we build for ourselves.
It does, and it immediately challenges our most common assumption.
Which is?
That the prison is external. I mean, when we feel trapped, what's the first thing we do?
Yeah.
We list the things outside of us. My boss is demanding. My partner doesn't understand me. The economy is terrible.
Right. We identify the bars of the cage as our circumstances.
Exactly. But the lesson says, no, the chains are made of fear. And the fear is an inside job. We're the ones who lock the door from the inside.
But that feeling of being trapped by the outside world is so incredibly convincing. And I think the lesson points to the really paradoxical reason we keep the chains on.
Ah, yes. The deception of protection.
The chains feel safe. They feel like protection.
They do. The ego is a brilliant salesman for fear. It never presents fear as a prison. It presents it as necessary vigilance, as prudence, as realism.
It tells you, hey, you need this. This fear is keeping you alert. The world is a dangerous place, and if you let your guard down, you're going to get hurt.
Absolutely. If you drop your defenses, you'll be taken advantage of, you'll fail, you'll be destroyed.
Yeah.
So we come to believe that fear is actually serving this vital function of keeping us safe.
And we adopt this defensive crouch. It becomes our default posture in life.
It does. Let's use an example. Say you're in a conflict at work. A colleague says something that feels undermining.
Okay.
The fearful mind immediately goes on high alert. It insists you remain guarded. It starts building a case, gathering evidence, replaying the conversation. It tells you that you must not, under any circumstances, drop your shield.
Because dropping the shield would mean surrender?
Yeah.
It would mean they win and you lose?
That's the story it tells. But what is that defensive crouch, really? It's the definition of a prison cell. All of your mental and emotional energy is now dedicated to defense.
You have no energy left for anything else.
Nothing. No creativity, no openness, no real connection. You're looking at your colleague, at your entire workplace, through this tiny pinhole of potential threat. Your ability to just relax and see clearly is gone.
So the chains promised you safety.
But what they delivered was total incapacitation. You're stuck. You're bound.
And the lesson connects this directly to a very specific belief. It says, without forgiveness is the mind in chains, believing in its own futility. That word, futility, feels so important here.
It's the anchor for the chain. This goes deeper than just limiting your actions. Fear's ultimate goal is to destroy your beliefs in your own inherent power and worth.
So what does futility mean in this context? It's not just feeling a bit hopeless, is it?
No, it's much more fundamental. In the Course's framework, futility is the underlying belief that because you see yourself as separate from God, from your source, anything you try to do on your own will ultimately come to nothing.
That every effort is doomed.
Every attempt at love, at creation, because you believe at your core that you are fundamentally flawed and alone.
It's interesting because you can see this in people who are highly driven, working so hard.
Absolutely. Think about the perfectionist or the person who is constantly defending their position. They're trying harder than anyone. They're meticulous, vigilant. But underneath all that frantic activity is this deep, gnawing belief that none of it will ever be enough.
How can someone who is trying so hard be operating from a belief in futility? It seems like a contradiction.
That's the mask. The frantic activity, the defending, the controlling, the perfecting, that's the symptom of the belief in futility. It's the ego's busy work.
To distract you.
To distract you from the terrifying core belief that you are a helpless, separate fragment. You work frantically to prove your worth or to build walls to secure your safety, precisely because you believe you have no inherent worth or safety.
You're trying to solve a spiritual problem, the belief in separation, with ego tools.
Exactly, with defense and control. And those tools can never, ever work. So the futility remains, and you just get more and more tired. The chains get heavier.
So the defensive state isn't just a reaction to what my colleague said. It's a symptom of this deep-seated conviction that I am fundamentally alone and powerless, and therefore I must defend this fragile self at all costs.
Precisely. The chains are forged from that profound belief in your own inadequacy. And once you see that, once you recognize that the fear and the defensiveness are just a cover for this deep, weary belief in your own futility, then you can start to look for the way out.
Which brings us to the solution. The lesson says, truth undoes its evil dreams by shining them away. It's not a fight.
It's not a fight. And this is a complete reversal of how we normally think.
Right. If I've spent all this time and energy building this intricate prison of defense and fear, my first impulse is to think I need an equally massive effort to tear it all down. I need a sledgehammer. I need to fight my fear.
We want a battle plan. We want to go to war with our own minds. But look at the language the lesson uses here. Truth never makes attack. It merely is.
That word, merely, it's so
Revolutionary. It means that truth, or reality, doesn't engage with the ego's illusions on their own terms. It doesn't argue with your defensive story. It doesn't try to debate you out of your fear.
It just shows up.
It just is. And in its presence, the illusions, the evil dreams dissolve. You don't have to actively destroy the darkness when you turn on a light. The darkness isn't there anymore.
Because it was never a thing to begin with. It was just the absence of light.
That is the technical elegance of the Course.
Mm-hmm.
The ego's world of fear and guilt and attack is fundamentally nothingness. It's a mistaken perception. And you don't need a weapon to defeat nothingness. You just need the presence of something real.
This completely reframes what forgiveness means then. If truth isn't an attack, then forgiveness can't be an effortful struggle.
Exactly. The lesson says, forgiveness bids this presence enter in and take its rightful place within the mind. It's an invitation, not a job.
We have to emphasize that because our cultural understanding of forgiveness is that it is hard work. You have to dredge up the past, wrestle with your anger, try to force yourself to feel something you don't feel.
Right. It's this process of, I need to forgive this person. Let me figure out how to do that. And that process often keeps the original problem, this story of blame and guilt, right at the center of your mind. It keeps the illusion real.
So if it's not manufacturing a feeling, what am I actually doing when I choose to forgive? How do I bid this presence enter in when my mind is screaming that my defenses are justified?
It's an act of intentional willingness, a
Yeah.
moment of quiet surrender. It means you pause the mental machinery that's building the case for blame.
So back to the colleague who undermined me. My mind is spinning. It's gathering evidence. It's rehearsing what I'm going to say. It's justifying my anger.
And forgiveness is the moment you choose to stop feeding that machine. You take a step back internally and you say, I am willing to see this differently. I invite a different perspective. I recognize that my current interpretation is causing me pain and binding me in chains.
So it's about yielding, not achieving. You're forgiving your own need for that narrative of blame.
That's it. That's the whole shift. The prison isn't what your colleague did. The prison is your mind's insistence that they are guilty and you are the righteous victim.
Forgiveness isn't saying, oh, what they did was totally fine.
Not at all. It's releasing your own need to hold them guilty in your mind in order to maintain your own identity as the one who was wronged.
The focus moves from them to me. It's less about forgiving their perceived sin and more about forgiving my own mind's need for there to be a sinner in the first place.
And when you let go of that need, when you release your grip on the necessity of someone being guilty, the entire prison collapses.
The circumstances might not even change. My colleague is still my colleague.
But your experience of it is transformed because you're no longer filtering it through the lens of fear and defense. The light is shining in, and what felt like an absolute undeniable fact, they are attacking me, is suddenly seen for what it was.
An interpretation. An illusion.
Just one possible story among many.
But this is the hurdle, isn't it? The massive challenge. Because when you're in that state of fear or righteous anger, your interpretations don't feel like interpretations. They feel like facts. Solid, undeniable.
Of course. That's the ego's primary function, to make the illusion feel real. It tells you your defense is not an interpretation, it's a logical response to a real threat.
So the practice is to question my own certainty at the moment when I feel most certain and most justified in my defense.
The moment you feel fear, the Course says you can be certain you are misperceiving. The interpretation is the prison. So the work, if you can call it that, is simply to notice your own certainty and introduce a tiny crack of willingness. Maybe this interpretation is what's binding me.
That's the invitation.
That's the invitation. That's the moment the light can get in. It's that moment of recognition. Oh, I'm doing it again. I'm binding the world with fear right now. That becomes the next opportunity for freedom.
The solution is that simple, just inviting the light in.
Forgiveness gives us the means to realize the freedom that is its inheritance.
That's a key word.
It's everything. It tells us that freedom is not something we create or earn through our hard work of forgiving. Freedom is our natural state. It's what we already are. It's our inheritance as a child of God.
Forgiveness isn't creative, it's restorative.
It just removes the blocks to our awareness of the freedom that's already there. It clears away the clouds of fear and guilt so we can see the sun that has been shining the whole time.
Salvation, then, is recognition, not achievement. We're not working toward a state of freedom.
We are working to see through the belief that we are imprisoned. The problem is, the ego has done a masterful job of convincing us that freedom is terrifying.
A vulnerability dilemma.
Yes. If my whole identity is wrapped up in being this separate, fragile little person in a hostile world, then my primary job is self-preservation. I need my defenses. I need my walls.
And in that mindset, giving up defense, choosing forgiveness feels insane. It feels like choosing to be a victim. It feels like you're just laying down your weapons and letting the enemy walk all over you.
That is the ego's master lie. It equates defense with safety and forgiveness with vulnerability. But the lesson says the exact opposite is true. Fear delivers imprisonment while promising protection. Forgiveness delivers freedom while looking like vulnerability.
The Course is asking us to trust that the defended state, the prison, is never protective, no matter how real the external threat seems.
It's asking us to run an experiment, to see that any true, sane, effective action like setting a boundary or having a difficult conversation can only come from a place of freedom, not from a place of fear. A free mind, a forgiven mind, it's capable of an inspired, clear, and truly helpful response because it's not bogged down by the belief in its own futility.
And that's the practical difference. I can still go talk to my colleague about what they said, but the intention is completely different. It's not about proving them wrong and me right. Which leads us to how we apply this. The prayer in the lesson says, "We would not bind the world again today."
And forever. Today.
It's not a one-and-done achievement. This frames freedom as a continuous choice, a choice we have to make moment by moment.
And that's just a realistic acknowledgement of our human experience, isn't it? We have years, lifetimes of habit. Our default setting is to choose fear. The ego is incredibly persuasive, and the world seems to offer up fresh evidence every single day to justify building our prisons bigger and stronger.
So because freedom is our inheritance, the need for a daily commitment must be because our belief in separation is so persistent. We wake up every morning and by default, we reboot the ego's operating system.
We do.
Yeah.
And that system's main programs are futility and defense.
Mm-hmm.
So the daily commitment is simply a daily willingness to notice which operating system you're running. When you feel that tightness in your chest, that defensiveness, that little spark of panic,
That's the alert.
that's the notification telling you that you've bound yourself again. And the commitment is simply to see that notification and say, I see the chains. I choose not to keep them on today.
And the lesson also makes it clear this isn't just a personal project. It says, fear binds the world.
The course is built on the idea that all minds are joined. There is only one mind. So if fear is a collective dream, a shared illusion,
Then every time I choose to release my own little private judgment, my personal need for defense,
you are withdrawing your energy and your belief from that collective fear dream. You're poking a little hole in the illusion for everyone.
and the mechanism for that is laid out so beautifully. For as we offer freedom, it is given us. That reciprocity.
It's the core dynamic. When I look at my colleague and I choose to forgive them, which means I release them from the role of aggressor or villain that I've cast them in.
You simultaneously release yourself.
I release myself from the role of victim. I dismantle the entire courtroom drama of judgment in my own mind. And that judgment is what kept me in prison, whether I was the judge, the prosecutor, or the one in the dock. So offering freedom to them is the act that frees me.
My individual choice to see one person differently without the filter of fear actually contributes to healing the whole.
And because we are all connected in this one mind, your demonstration of freedom, even in a tiny private conflict, sends a ripple of reality out into the world's shared dream of darkness. It might seem invisible, but the effect of a truly non-defensive, peaceful interaction is always felt. It's always restorative.
I think we can get discouraged because we think we're supposed to reach the state of perfect, unshakable freedom.
It's not about never feeling fear again. It's about what you do when you notice it. The lesson ends with this powerful statement of intent. We would not remain as prisoners while you are holding freedom out to us.
It reframes the whole thing. It's not this grueling battle to achieve a distant freedom. It's simply about our willingness to drop the chains that we ourselves are clinging to. The practice isn't about preventing the mistake of choosing fear. It's about shortening the duration of our self-imposed imprisonment.
With practice, the time you spend locked in that cell of resentment and defense just gets shorter and shorter. What used to be weeks of holding a grudge might become a day.
And then an hour.
And then maybe just a few moments. A fleeting thought of attack, and then an immediate self-correction back to peace. The chains appear, you recognize them almost instantly, and you choose forgiveness that much more quickly.
So to bring it all together, the key ideas from Lesson 332. First, fear creates the prison. It forges the chains by convincing us we're powerless and need to stay defended.
And second, forgiveness is the key. It's the willingness to let truth enter and simply shine away the darkness of our fearful stories.
And finally, the freedom this is all pointing to, it's already ours. It's our inheritance. We just realize it through that daily choice to let go of blame, which offers freedom to the world and, in the very same instant, to ourselves.
And so today, all we're really asked to do is to notice the binding power of fear when it arises, and to choose the opening that forgiveness offers. Even if, for a moment, that choice feels like the most vulnerable thing in the world, because that choice is freedom.
We invite you to share with us where you notice fear showing up in your life and what happens for you when you choose forgiveness. You can reach out at ACIM@theworldharmonyproject.org or find us on social media at The World Harmony Project.
Thanks for practicing with us. We'll see you next time.